Let's talk about factoring harder problems. I want you to try to figure out what's the difference between this problem right here and the ones that we were doing before. Let's look at those. Well, I kind of gave you a hint. What's these values in front of our a value here? Well, this is a 1x squared, a 1v squared, a 1m squared, a 1n squared, a 1x squared, a 1m squared. But look at what we have over here. We have an a value that is not 1. In fact, it's 2. So this would be considered a harder problem. And there's a different method for factoring them. And let me show you that now. First thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a telephone. And make sure you include the positives and negatives if they have negative. And I'm going to multiply those two numbers. And if you want, you can put an m here. When I multiply 2 times -3, I get a -6. And we're still going to try to add to be -5. Again, I circle these two numbers, 2 and -3. That's how I get my -6. And the add number I still get from the middle. All right, so what two numbers will multiply to -6 and add to -5? Well, that will be a -6 and a 1, because -6 times 1 is -6, and -6 plus 1 is a -5. All right, now the next step is different. So what you're going to do is underline this middle term. And then you are going to split it up. So this is going to be a 2x squared. We're going to just drop that 2x squared down. But I'm going to rewrite the -5x term with these two values right here. So I'm going to put a -6x and then a +1x. Then drop down the -3. So again, I've taken these two numbers and rewritten this middle one right here as a -6x because of that, and a +1x because of that. Okay, next step is going to be to underline the first two numbers and underline the last two numbers. And we have to think of a common factor. So both of these terms have x's, so I'm going to pull an x out. And both of these are even, so I'm going to pull a 2x out. And now I'm going to put in parentheses and say to myself, 2x times what gives me 2x squared? Well, that's just going to be an x. And then I'm going to say to myself, 2x times what gives me a -6x? Well, that's going to be a -3. Now, folks, if you look at this, if you do distributive property, those two things will perfectly match this. So they're equal. They're the same exact thing. Okay, next thing you're going to do is you're going to rewrite the x -3 immediately, just like that. And I'm going to pull out a number right here that when I distribute it through, I do get a 1x -3. Well, that would be a +1. Right? 1 times x is a 1x, 1 times -3 is a -3. All right, the last step of factoring here is going to be to basically pull out an x -3. So I'm going to have an x -3. And then your other parentheses is going to be from the remaining this and this. So you'll have a 2x plus 1. Now, unfortunately, this step is not going to be quite as easy as the other method, where you remember how we had, if it was a -5 here, your answer would be a +5. If it was -2, it would be a +2. Well, that might work for one of these, and I'll show you which one in a second. But in a problem like 2x plus 1, you're going to have to pull it over to the side and do 2x plus 1 equals 0. Kind of the long method I talked about before. So you're going to subtract 1 from both sides. You get 2x equals -1. Divide by 2. The 2's cancel, and I do get an x equals -1/2. Now remember I said one of these might be easy. Well, notice how this x minus 3, it doesn't have a coefficient. So this is one of those easier ones where we can just say x equals 3. But if you don't trust me, you can pull this one off to the side and have x minus 3 equals 0. Add 3 to both sides, and you do see that you get an x equals 3. Right? Same thing as here. All right, folks, so that I know that these are definitely long problems, but we need to do another practice one. All right, step 1 is to draw your telephone. So we're trying to multiply to a 6 times negative 10, which is a negative 60. And we're trying to add to 11. What is that going to be? It's not coming to me right away. Is it coming to you right away? Well, if it doesn't come to you right away, you should think about what your factors of 60 are. That would be a 6 times 10. Let's see, what else? 60 divided by 5 is a 12 times 5. 60 divided by 3 is a 20 and a 3. 60 divided by 4. Nope, 60 divided by 4. So we've got a 15 times 4. That's going to be the one. And the reason why I knew right away is because I can make an 11 out of a 15 times 4. But the question is, which one's going to be negative? Well, it's going to have to be the negative 4, because 15 plus a negative 4 is your 11 that you want, and then 15 times a negative 4 does give you that negative 60. All right, so we are going to take this inner term right here, and we're going to split it up. And I've not mentioned this before because it didn't matter on the last one, but sometimes we want to be smart about what we put where. So what I mean by that is, of course, I have my 6x squared, but when I split this up, remember I chose 15 and negative 4. Which one has more in common with 6, more factors? Would that be a 15 that matches nicely with 6, or a negative 4? Well, I would say a negative 4. So I would actually write the minus 4x first, and then do the 15x next, because that has more in common with the minus 10. So I've dropped down, let me just refresh what I've done here. I've dropped down the 6x squared, I've dropped down the minus 10, and I've taken this 11x and I've split it into these two numbers that multiplied to this and added to that. But I was smart about which one I put first. I knew that negative 4x had more in common with 6 than over here, because the 15x has more in common with minus 10, factors-wise. It's not like they both enjoy going to the movies. So I'm going to underline these two and underline those two. I'm going to pull out a 2x is the biggest thing I can pull out. And then I'm going to have a 3x and then a minus 2. And as soon as I've written 3x minus 2, I'm going to immediately write 3x minus 2 over here. Okay, so now I'm going to have a plus 5 here. Let's make sure that's right. 5 times 3x is 15x. 5 times minus 2 is negative 10. Beautiful. Again, next step is to pull out 3x minus 2 as a common factor. But then also, no, I've got a 2x plus 5. So I'm going to have a 2x plus 5. All right, now is my time when I actually have to solve. So I'm going to set these two expressions equal to 0 off on the side. So let's do that now. So I'm going to set my 3x minus 2 equal to 0. And then I guess I'll go up here. Why not? 2x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5. 2x equals negative 5. Divide by 2. 2's cancel, and I'm left with x equals a negative 5 over 2, which I'd like you to leave it as a fraction, please. Same thing here, add 2 to both sides, 2's cancel, 3x equals a positive 2, divide by 3, and I get x equals 2/3. All right, y'all, thanks for watching.